Hello and welcome to another episode of The Content Cap, the show where I sit in my living room and recap some of the best and some of my favourite pieces of content that I've seen over the last few weeks. Today's episode is featuring Nic Mac, an illustrator who I actually came across pretty much 2 days ago, and she's agreed to have a chat with me over Zoom, so let's get straight in there and here's the conversation with Nic. I'm loving the setup behind. I'm loving you've got your artwork up.
Thank you. I've got some of my favourite artists.
That's not just for the show. Is that normal? Is it?
Yeah. It's normally up there. I've recently actually just kind of lined them up a bit neater because it was a bit of a mess before.
Nice. It's looking great. Well, I was just explaining how I literally only came across your work like 2 days ago, I think, and then obviously the one piece stood out so much, and found your page and asked you. So thank you very much for being on here in such short notice. Really appreciate it.
Amazing. Quick turnaround. I like it.
First of all, I just wanted to talk a bit about you and kind of how you got into illustration.
How did I get into illustration? I was really stubborn because I think every tutor I had said I wasn't an illustrator. So that's the thing that kind of gets you thinking, that makes you kind of want to do it more, because I studied graphic communication in uni. So, which is kind of a broad thing. It can be graphic design, can be illustration, can be photography. But I just kind of swerved into illustration from being interested in graphic design. But then, I don't know, I got swayed because everyone said I couldn't do it.
Has it made you want to do it even more once you've been told that you can't do it?
Completely. I mean, it's just the idea of kind of proving people wrong, and knowing I knew I liked it. I knew I enjoyed the idea of just illustrating rather than overly thinking in this graphic design way, or in a more, although it's a really hard thing. I don't want to get into trying to describe the difference between graphic design and illustration because it's the hardest thing. They're both kind of communicating something with imagery in some way. Yeah, I really liked just wanting to find my own style and being more on the arty side rather than the ideas side, although they do mix together. Oh, it's going to be a grey area actually. It's
all intertwined. It's a bit like videography and photography, I suppose. It's like it's basically the same thing, but I don't know. You could pull different bits out of it. But So you did do it at uni, not specifically illustration, but you did do that kind of area. Is that something you feel you had to have done, or do you think now coming out of it, is it necessary? That's the big question.
It's a very good question. I think half of it was necessary, not to put down my university. I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, that's your question, isn't it? Like, I don't think it's necessary. I think if you had something you were kind of interested in, you could do a short course in it, maybe. But it's all about just trying it and doing it yourself. It's the only real way to learn, I think. The most I've ever learned is when I've just been doing it by myself on the side. It's not through a random brief that you got at uni. I don't know. So I don't want to hate on it too much. It was a good experience, but I think your time can be better spent kind of just focusing on it yourself and not having to spend whatever it costs these days, which is crazy.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I really agree. I feel like, I mean, in my very short career, I haven't been doing like filming and stuff too long, but I feel like when I look back and see where I kind of grew or learned the most is probably when you make mistakes and you pretty much, right, I won't do that again next time, or something annoys you so much, so then there's a reason it annoys you, so then you learn. I think that's the best way to learn, by doing it, like you say.
Yeah, and finding it without trying to find it too much. Again, I think sometimes when it's like art in education is so hard, how do you rate or how do you grade art? I just think it's an impossibility. It's subjective. You know, you have to love what you do, and the only way to really love it is just by stumbling across it yourself. It's such a personal journey. I just don't know if it can be taught.
At what point did kind of doing illustration and doing what you do go from kind of a passion to becoming a more, is it a full-time job you do now, or is it a side hustle you're working on?
Yeah, it goes up and down with being a side hustle and a full-time job. At the moment, I'm lucky to be calling it a full-time job. It's really hard though, it's always up and down, and you can have months where you're basically unemployed, so you have to think about if you need to find something else. But I've forgotten the question.
To be fair, I did mix the question up completely, but I suppose I'm just wondering, at what point did you realise this could be something you could do as a career?
Well, it does just come from like that initial first job to, realising, you can price things, you have an hourly rate, and you have the ability to create something for people, and there's always a need for imagery and design and covers of albums. Every year you kind of realise there's a whole other section where illustration can be used and what it can be put on, and the possibilities are endless, so it's really kind of exciting.
Moving on to The Great Wave, the piece that obviously I want to talk about today. I personally absolutely love it. Like I said, it caught my eye straight away. The colours, the message, everything. I just kind of want to know what inspired that piece.
Yeah, for sure. It just came to mind pretty quickly when I was looking at pictures of oceans, and obviously Hokusai's Great Wave, which obviously is what it's based on. It's a reimagined version of it. And I was looking at Hokusai's wave, and I was looking at the funny shape. If you really look at the shapes that he's making on them, I just saw like a particular loop that just made me think like it looked like the handle of a plastic bag. And I just thought about the idea, but then I realised someone would have already done that. It just seemed too obvious, it was just someone's probably done that. So I left it for a long time. I did a little doodle in my sketchbook, and I did like a really rough, bad version, which is on Illustrator, which is on Instagram, sorry. You should see it and see how bad it is, because it's quite awful. And then I decided to do it again and actually take time and draw it properly. I just put it together, and then people really loved it. And obviously it's the power of taking something recognisable that people know, and then I like to say that I kind of made it ugly, but bringing the truth into it. And then it's kind of like, it's not hard to see, because sometimes important topics, if they're too hard to look at and see, and they're a bit too painful to look at, people don't really absorb it. So I like that it kind of just, the message is subtly there in a quite beautiful way.
Yeah, definitely.
It has taken off, and people have really liked it and shared it, and I've just been lucky, really. Been really lucky.
Yeah, it's an amazing piece, but obviously with the whole message behind it, like you say, you saw the kind of handle of the plastic bag, obviously incorporated all those plastic bags as kind of the froth of the wave. I also noticed, I looked on your Instagram, I've seen your packaging's 100% recyclable. So is this something that obviously means a lot to you and you want to put into your work?
This kind of links really interestingly in with your previous question of kind of turning it into a job. I made this image when I was still really struggling with it and the whole freelance thing, and then realizing people were like, hey, can we get a print? I was like, I've never done a print before, but I'm sure I can work it out. Obviously, because of the theme of it, it was important to me, but I never really thought about how much I had to think about. It obviously had to be in plastic-free packaging, there was no question about that. And then it was like, are there things available? Like, I know I'd want to put it in a clear plastic thing, but I can't use that. So is there options? And it really made me research more. So really, I kind of thank the art for making me even more conscious, because it had to be. And there's amazing stuff. There's this eco craft which they create. Well, I've got it right here.
Show us, get it out.
It's made from potato starch, 100% potato starch, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, why doesn't everyone do this? The stuff that can be made from potatoes blows my mind.
That's actually amazing that you started doing the packaging based on after doing the photo. I thought it would be the other way around. I thought, like, obviously it's something it means a lot to you doing the packaging, so you're like, I want to create something that says a big message, when in actual fact that's really interesting how your natural creation, just an idea that came to your head, has now led to you going down that path of you'll probably never change. You'll probably always be using potato starch for your packages for the rest of your life. So.
I want to do skateboards and I want to be able to send them off, but it's about working out how can I send that in the best way I can. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm not a plastic-free living person, but I will try my best to research and do as good as I can.
I obviously through your work and then read about the Great Wave, the initial drawing that he did, or painting. Super interesting, and they were talking about how it's kind of representative of like the force of nature and how weak we are as human. And I was like, that's actually really interesting when you look back at your piece and your version of it, because humans are the ones who have kind of put the plastic bags in the ocean. We're the ones who are kind of almost creating the wave on ourselves, if that makes sense. So I don't know whether you thought of it that way, or it's just my weird twisted way of looking at it, but it fully made sense, because it's kind of like it shows our weakness, but also we're contributing to this inevitable. We're going the wrong way with pollution and everything at the moment with plastics. Anyway, I don't know whether that's a right way to look at it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the wave to me definitely was an image of nature and how beautiful nature is, and how majestic and powerful and all of that. And then, oh wait, look what humans have done. Today's version of the wave is so ugly, and we've done that. And it's just to make people maybe think about it a bit more and just be like, oh shit, maybe I should do something. Maybe I should just do a little bit, something that's going to help make that wave less real. And now it's going to be masks, which is a whole other thing. Everyone's telling me to make a mask version, so that might have to happen.
That's a great idea. I know, yeah, it's quite scary, the idea that the wave is getting bigger with the introduction of the masks. But it's actually weird you mentioned masks, because I headed over to your YouTube channel. You're making YouTube videos similar to myself, but they look really good. And I saw that mask one you made. That was just insane how you scanned them in and did all that. I'll link it in the video so these guys can see.
Amazing.
Is YouTube something that you're doing to kind of push the art side of it, or is it just a passion? Do you like filmmaking as well?
I do. I love filmmaking. I always kind of accidentally found myself doing editing. Just the idea of creating these videos is just so enjoyable to me, to get onto this YouTube train. And because I've seen artists like 1000 and Slew, who I follow on YouTube, and I just love the idea that you can engage people before or whilst you're making the artwork, and they can kind of have a say in the direction your art takes and stuff like that, and it's just a whole journey, which is so cool. I love editing and putting stuff together, so I'm just really enjoying documenting art in that way and creating two pieces of work from it, like having the artwork itself and then having the video.
We actually, in the first episode we had, I spoke to a guy called Adam, and he's a videographer, and we were talking about kind of behind the scenes and how important behind the scenes is, and how much people love it, including myself. Like, I love watching behind the scenes. It's huge, like you say. Like, yeah, I saw the Great Wave illustration, but after going to your YouTube and then seeing the behind the scenes of how you made it, I loved it even more. I was like, oh, this is so crazy, like the amount of work that goes into it, and it's like a second piece that you can use, and it's fun. It's nice to do, and it's nice to look back on, I suppose.
Yeah, it's the story behind something. I just think people love to learn, and it just adds value if you know the story behind it. And again, with art, usually it is so subjective, and you don't really get to say, this is exactly what it means, you know. So the video is an opportunity sometimes to be like, I came up with this because of this and this. I used this, you know, and show really the whole process behind it.
Has that been kind of the pivotal piece you've done, or are there any others that have had a similar kind of response, or is this the main one?
Yeah, I would say it's the pivotal one. People have definitely come to my page. They've followed me because of being directed from other pages about this wave.
Me as well, yeah.
Something that I feel really proud of, and a piece that I really like is my comic that I'm doing, which is a continual piece of work. It's an important story about mental health and stuff, and it's going to be a continual project that I keep making these different comics about those themes, and I just hope it's something that eventually grows. It's quite small at the moment, but people have noticed it, and that's really nice. The hope that maybe one person might see it and kind of get something from it just means the world. And I think when it's something about mental health, like, that's the aim, is that it might make people feel like they're not alone, which is my main aim. They all end in a lesson or a good, a little high or a little bit of hope. I don't want them to be super miserable, you know. The whole point is that there is always hope, no matter how bad things are. So that's the aim with them. It's on my to-do list to just do a little bit of work to it every now and then, but it keeps getting pushed back. So I do need to make that my aim of, like, focusing on it, because the second comic is almost done. I've got 2 pages left. So what? Come on, Nick. This interview is the reason to carry on with it.
Hold yourself accountable on here.
Yeah, I'm saying it here now. That one will definitely be done in 2021. That's kind of what I want to be my pivotal project, maybe. But but it's getting there. I need to do more work on it, though. I need to do more work on it, definitely.
Well, thank you very much for talking to me today. Hope you like being on the Content Cap episode 3.
Yes, amazing. No, thanks so much for having me. This is so fun.
So yeah, go and check out Nic Mac. She makes some amazing illustrations. Obviously the Great Wave, which is what we featured today, but as she said, Solace coming out soon, and hopefully some comic books which will be coming out. So look out for those. That's amazing. Thank you so much for chatting to me today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.